Welcome back to the Prepared School Psych podcast. I am your host, Jenny Ponzuric. Today, we are continuing our 4-part mini-series on the podcast all about the topic of executive functioning. I am once again joined by Dr. Amy Merenda. Welcome back to the podcast, Amy.
Thank you so much, Jenny. So happy to be here.
If you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2 of this mini-series, feel free to press pause and check them out. Today, we are going to address the struggle many of us face when wanting to implement something else in our lives. And that is the actual ongoing implementation. How many times have you attended a workshop and thought, I'm going to add that to my report template, or I'm going to try that at work next week? Amy and I have been running some book clubs over the last few months, and so many of the books we have read include things that I want to implement in my life. So many struggles, though, with finding that time for the actual implementation. When you think about that, Amy, what struggles do you have in the implementation phases?
I envision it like a battle for my brain. Like, what is going to be the most pressing thing that I'm going to remember to do? Or, you mentioned the book club books. We've read a lot of great books with a lot of really good ideas to enhance your life, to enhance your business, enhance your practice. And they're great. Like, we talk about the ideas, we think they're wonderful ideas. And then making the idea happen is always something so different. And it really feels like we're chatting about it. I'm reading the book, I'm taking notes. We finish the book. Yay. I check it off my book list or whatever I'm doing, having some joy. And then I go home and I make dinner for my family and I get ready for bed. And you kind of fall back into what you're comfortable doing. And maybe that's not a fair word. Maybe it's not what you're comfortable doing, but maybe it's what you feel like you need to be doing for that time. Where then, like, the battle for my brain, what's winning is, my day-to-day responsibilities, what I need to get done, maybe something that's happening the next day I have to prepare for, something like that. And these other really great ideas are never at the top of that battle for my brain. And then before I know it, I'm reading another book or I'm listening to another podcast. And now my pile of excellent ideas is growing exponentially, but still at the top of my brain is my responsibilities and giving my family time and staying true to my values, all that stuff. So that's kind of how it feels like. It's like we have like this pile of amazing ideas, but they never quite get to the top of our to-do list because other things are always there that are never going to not be there. So how do you navigate that? But that's how it feels to me.
Yeah, speaking of podcasts, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and one of the terms that they were using really resonated with this conversation today, which is autopilot.
Oh, yeah.
Most of us are just on autopilot. Like, we do this, we do this, we do this. And we need to be on autopilot for a lot of parts of our lives. There's a reason why certain things are just routine, because there's only so much like space in that frontal lobe to really be thinking through, okay, next I'm going to do this, next I'm going to do this. That's why we don't have to think about, oh yeah, I have to brush my teeth. Like, that's not like something in the frontal part of our brain. It is a routine that we just do. We wake up in the morning and, it just fits into that routine. So implementing something from a book we read, implementing something from a workshop we went to, we have to break out of that autopilot and actually find that time to do that.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, if you listen to episode 1 of this podcast mini-series, Amy and I discussed our upcoming Executive Functioning Academy Educator Edition. So as you're thinking about this academy, Amy, our 9 sessions over 3 weeks, what are you excited about?
Oh my gosh, so much. I'm excited to share space, I think, with people who are also excited about executive functioning and learning about it. I'm excited to learn with people and learn between you and I and learn as a group and learn about, these topics. But I think the most exciting thing for me is the strategies. I'm excited for some strategies. Now, I know I just told you I have a big, giant strategy, good idea pile that just continues to grow. I may or may not have a problem adding to that pile. I love adding to that pile. But really, like, I see these strategies as the ideas and the ways to get this good idea pile into my life. And that's really what I'm excited to try. I feel like the other things that, our book clubs and our great ideas, they are ideas, right? But they're not actions. And I think
Mhm.
that when we think about our Executive Functioning Academy Educator Edition, we are really going to be talking about some actions. How
Mhm.
can you actually practice this? What does it look like? Where will it fit in your life? Let's talk about it as a group. What time of day are you going to do? We're going to break it down so it really becomes meaningful, and I think I also am excited to hear that for people, but also practice it myself too.
Well, one of the aspects that you and I were discussing when we were first brainstorming this academy was really about how to do this next step, which is how to help support people in their goals for these executive functioning challenges after the academy ends. Because for some people, we're going to go through those 9 sessions and they're going to get those strategies they need. They're going to be able to implement that flight plan that we talked about, and they're going to be able to go. But for some people, they might need that ongoing support. And therefore, enter the next thing that we're going to be offering as part of this is what we're calling the executive functioning momentum community. And this is going to be a community of people who are all working on implementing these executive functioning flight plans, our version of the IEP document for those that are in this academy. So let's talk about this executive functioning momentum community. What is this community going to look like? What is it going to include?
Mhm.
So, first up, exactly what Amy was just talking about, ongoing ideas for strategies. We're going to talk about strategies in those 9 live sessions of the Academy. And just like the students we work with, and we have these behavior challenges that we are concerned about, and we have this idea this is going to be our behavior plan, and we go and implement it, and it does not work. And that's absolutely fine. That happens with the kids we work with all the time. We thought this was the reading intervention that was going to help support the characteristics of dyslexia we looked at. If the one strategy worked for everyone, most of us wouldn't have all these challenges. We
Yes.
thought that one strategy was going to be that strategy. We tried it out. We tried it out with fidelity. It's not the strategy for you. And
Mhm.
so, one of the things that we want to be able to do in this momentum community is really think about okay, I need some feedback. Do we want to just tweak this strategy a little bit, or do we need to exchange it completely for a different one? So, that's definitely one of the things that we're going to be able to talk about, not just Amy and I lecturing, here's another strategy idea, but for us to have these conversations as a community. Okay, who else has tried this? Is there something else that this person could utilize that someone else has used a slight variation of? Oh, maybe that's it. So we want to be able to talk about these different things as a community.
Also, in the executive functioning momentum community, you're going to find accountability. Now, that is a great word, but what does it actually mean and look like, right? Jenny and I often talk about an author, Gretchen Rubin, and some of you may know her, but she talks about different accountability styles in some of her writing. And not to go too far down a Gretchen Rubin rabbit hole, although that would be a great place to go. I love her. You can take a quiz to figure out what is your style of accountability. And Jenny and I both fall into the category of being an obliger. That's the term. So we will more often follow through when we know that somebody else wants us to do that. We might not always do that if we just want to do it or if we feel like we're being forced to do it or whatever. But we are more likely to follow through when we know that somebody else expects that from us. And this is really important as you think about accountability and being part of the executive functioning momentum community if you're considering. Because if you're someone like us who needs that community to know, ooh, I want to do it for myself, but you know what's more important? Jenny wants me to do it, or everybody else in the community wants me to do it, right? Then we have that other expectation and support. The community is really around you, helping you stay accountable to practicing these strategies and practicing these skills. So we bring up kind of our styles because we know we need that. You might need that too, right? And so it's something that you can consider as you're thinking about, ooh, is the executive functioning momentum community right for me? Well, if you know that you need that kind of outside, external accountability, you're definitely going to find that within the community.
One of the other things that we're going to be talking about inside the community, as well as during the academy, is the term motivation. Because, of course, we talk about motivation all the time when we're talking about going back to my example of a behavior plan with a student. We're always thinking about what is it that they want to work towards? And, can we have some motivation strategies that we're implementing as part of that? And I have to admit, I've really been thinking about this word motivation a lot lately as it relates to an adult.
Mhm.
Because I think if I had this one motivation strategy, I would reach all the goals that I have for myself. And I think one of the things that can be hard for us as adults is that thing that we dangle in front of the students, a homework pass or being able to get that Nintendo game. Do we still have Nintendo? I'm so out of the loop there. I don't know
You're
why
doing great.
that was an
Okay.
example. As an adult, I'll just go buy it myself. I'll just go do it myself. Like, no one else is like withholding something from me as an adult.
Yeah.
So, as the word motivation comes into play, that can be a little bit interesting as we talk about that as an adult. There's so many different quotes. This is probably one of my favorite ones. It's from someone named Zig Ziglar. And he says, people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily.
I love that.
I will tell you, I heard Zig Ziglar. I will tell you that this motivation piece and this kind of realm of my world started when I was a kid. My dad took me to a place where Zig Ziglar was speaking. And I think I got, this will age me here, a set of CDs that I could listen to that had like this whole learning about how to motivate yourself. And yeah, motivation daily is something that we can be talking about. And is it really motivation? Because I don't know about you, Amy, I am not motivated every single day that I wake.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
And you and I both have like businesses we have created that like this is something we want to be doing. And still not motivated every single morning that I wake up. And so I think we have to be thoughtful about this word motivation. Sometimes motivation does work for us.
Mhm.
And sometimes the other M word, and this is something we're going to be talking about, is mindset. And sometimes we have to be thinking about the words we are saying to ourselves and how we can change the words we say to ourselves that may be able to get us to that next step. It may be that thing that's going to, maybe we're not motivated to go ahead and wake up 15 minutes earlier so we can go on a quick walk around the block. But if we work on our mindset, a lot of times those things are a little bit easier there.
Definitely. Yeah. Another thing that, we're going to find in the executive functioning momentum community is coaching. So if you haven't listened to Jenny's podcast episodes with Coach Kelly Milbeck, please explore those conversations a bit more. They're phenomenal. And our momentum community is going to offer some coaching too. So Jenny and I have both recently been certified as leadership coaches. Yay, us. Jenny, I'm wondering, how do you think what we learned in that certification program is going to support those in the executive functioning momentum community?
Do you support executive functioning challenges for students, but struggle to manage your own? As an educator, you're likely constantly juggling deadlines, meetings, and 1,001 responsibilities. It's no surprise that staying organized and focused on your own tasks feels like a never ending challenge. The Executive Functioning Academy Educator Edition is designed to change that. In just 9 sessions, you'll gain practical strategies to manage your time, reduce stress, and create systems that actually work for you. You'll walk away feeling more confident, organized, and prepared so you can focus on what truly matters. Take more control of your day and finally feel on top of your work with strategies that fit your life. Register today at jennyponzuric.com/EF Academy. That's jennyponzuric.com/EF for Executive Functioning Academy. Or simply click the link in the show notes to learn more. I look forward to seeing you there. Now, let's get back to the episode. I think some of the different strategies we learned in the certification program is going to be helpful because one of the things we know, whether we're working with kids or we're working with adults, is A lot of people want someone just to tell them what to do. Like, there's this
Mm,
certain piece of our brain that's like, just tell me the strategy that's going to fix this time management issue that I'm having. And one of the things that we know is if someone else tells you this is the answer, we don't have as much buy-in on that. And so I think one of the things that was really ingrained in the coaching was how to lead people to figuring out the solution that was going to work for them. Again,
mm.
we're going to talk about strategies. It's not like we're just not going to talk about those pieces at all, but really thinking about what's going to work for you as an adult needs to come from you.
Totally.
What else are you thinking from the leadership certification program that you are like, yes, we're definitely going to be talking about this inside this space?
When I think about the program that we went through, and it was so many of the aspects I see just in day-to-day life now that we've participated in it. But one big one to me is understanding ownership and accountability and what that really means for me individually.
Mm,
How to go about taking ownership of my choices. So when we're thinking about, I know I mentioned earlier the accountability piece. Yes, it matters to me, that other people expect me to do it. But at the end of the day, it's my choice in how I'm going to do it, what I'm going to do, and also how committed am I to doing this thing? Am I going to do it no matter what? Or am I going to do it only if it works out? Where do I fit in this? And that was a big part of our certification program was really thinking about what that means for us and how do we know how committed we are and how to do that. And I think we can definitely bring those ideas into the executive functioning momentum community to make sure that others understand too at the end of the day, the choice is always yours.
yeah.
How do you go about doing that? And how committed do you want to be to making some of this change? Also, it's okay to not always want to be committed 100% to something. Maybe there are certain strategies here that I'm going to try that if it works out. I'm going to
Mhm.
try that if the situation arises. Maybe there's some where, oh, absolutely, I'm doing this no matter what happens. I'm going to try this. And just understanding that all of that is okay, right? It's about your journey and taking that ownership and practicing those skills. So, those are some things that come to mind that I definitely think we can utilize in the momentum community.
Well, in addition to the leadership certification, I have just been all over coaching this year. And I have been an active participant in the executive functioning coaching online class that is hosted by Dr. Peg Dawson, who is the author of many books, including the Smart But Scattered series. So we'll be utilizing a lot of the strategies that I have been learning and I have been practicing as I've been practicing executive functioning coaching throughout this program. Now, I mentioned I've been doing lots of coaching, different things. So, guess what? I'm also in the midst of another coaching program. Can we tell that I like learning? I like the learning. I like moving forward and figuring out what are some other things that we can be doing to help not just myself, but that we can bring forward to everyone else as well. And I'm in the midst of a coaching program all about mindset and the strategies we have been learning inside this program are going to fit right into this community. One of the things we started this coaching program off with was a definition of mindset. And the group defines mindset as the stories we tell ourselves. That's it. That's what our mindset is. It's the stories we tell ourselves. And if we tell ourselves that the strategies that we write in the executive functioning flight plan are simple and doable, versus are we telling ourselves that these are hard and difficult? It will change the mindset that we have about actually trying out these strategies. And to work on our mindset, so many times we talk about that. I need to work on my mindset. But how do we work on our mindset? We need to actually work on our stories. And to work on our stories, we need to think about the language we are using, the language we are using out loud, the language that we are using inside our head as well. So, Amy, are you up to play a language game with me to show off one of these ideas?
Of course, I am ready.
All right. So, we're going to do a language game that we call the should detox. Should detox. Some of you have heard the term. Be careful about shoulding all over yourselves. And a lot of those shoulds come in from other people, but many times these should statements come from ourselves.
Mhm.
So, to help prep for this, I had asked Amy to write down a couple of should statements for herself. And so, Amy, I'm just going to have you pick one of those that you're willing to share with everyone here on the podcast and have you read that sentence out loud.
Okay. I should make my son's Easter basket. We're recording this the day before Easter, so I'm cutting it real close. So my statement is I should make my son's Easter basket.
Okay. When you say that sentence out loud, what feeling does that statement bring up for you?
Oh, stress. I'm already thinking like, oh my gosh, when am I going to do that today? When I get home after this, he's going to be awake. I don't want him to see me doing it. So then I'm going to have to do it. I mean, I just start stressing. So lots of stress.
Lots of stress. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most stressed you've ever felt, how high is the stress level for you right now?
Maybe halfway, maybe a 5.
Okay. Where do you feel that stress in your body?
Definitely my shoulders.
Okay.
Like I feel like just talking about it, I'm like, they're already like up by my ears. Definitely my shoulders. That's probably the biggest place for this one. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have you write your sentence again, but this time you are going to replace the word should with the word could. So go ahead and take a moment and just rewrite the sentence. And again, instead of the word should, you are going to use the word could. And anyone else listening, you are welcome to play along as well. This works for any should statement. So, Amy, read your new sentence aloud.
Okay. I could make my son's Easter basket.
Okay. And what kind of feelings are brought up there?
It feels less restrictive. Like it feels like I could do it, but I also don't have to. Like it feels less, there's less pressure on it for sure.
Less pressure. Okay. I'm going to have you rewrite the sentence one more time, and you're going to replace the word could with the word can. Again, so she is in this next step, replacing the word could with the word can.
Okay.
All right, read your sentence out loud now.
I can make my son's Easter basket.
What kind of feelings are brought up now?
Well, now I'm excited to go make it. It's like, yeah, I can. I already have the stuff. I can make it. Like
Okay.
it's much more like invigorating than like another to do.
Okay. Okay. One last step at the end of your sentence, I want you to add the word because and then finish the sentence. So, in this last step, where we're going to continue with the sentence where we have the can, she is adding the word because, and then she's just completing that sentence. All right, go ahead and read us your last sentence.
I can make my son's Easter basket because he deserves it. I love it.
What kind of feelings are being brought up now?
Now I'm super like now I'm like, all right, Jenny, bye. I'm gonna go make his Easter basket. See ya. You can finish this episode without me, right? Yeah, it makes me feel more excited and like excited for him too to get this item. Like it's gonna be fun tomorrow. It feels fun. I think that's a good word. Instead of like how it felt in the beginning, which was a lot more not fun. Like a to-do item. And now it feels like fun. Like I can't wait to do this. He's gonna love it. More fun and exciting.
So, this is just a couple of quick shifts in our language. And our mindset started with stressed.
Yeah.
In the shoulders, a lot of feeling there to excitement about doing something. And I will just say, Amy and I did not pre-plan this. The only thing she did ahead of time was write 3 sentences that had the word should in them so that she could pick one for here. So this was not pre-planned in regards to all of these different pieces. But this is what I'm talking about when we talk about motivation.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you think about like, how could you motivate yourself to finish this Easter basket versus working on the words that we are saying to ourselves can shift our mindset from stress and overwhelm into excitement and action because you were just like, I'm done with this episode. Let's go.
Now I'm gonna go make it right now.
So, we're going to be doing some activities like this inside our executive functioning momentum community as we are progressing throughout the year. This momentum community will be available throughout the school year for people to participate. And if this type of support may be helpful for you to implement and, most importantly, sustain the implementation of strategies for your executive functioning challenges, then I encourage you to check out our Executive Functioning Academy Educator Edition right now on the website at jennyponzuric.com/EF Academy. You do need to be in the Academy to participate in the Executive Functioning Momentum community. And yes, you can sign up for both right now. Again, if you listened to our previous episodes, we have 2 different cohorts. You can choose between our summer or our fall cohorts, and we are excited to set you up for success this upcoming school year. Thank you again for coming back to the podcast, Amy, and sharing your thoughts and your excitement about the Executive Functioning Academy and the Momentum community. Thank you so much for being here.
I can't wait to see everybody in there and keep working on learning about executive functioning.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed part 3 of our series about executive functioning and ways to support you and the other adults on campus who struggle with these skills. In the last episode of this series, I'm going to be sharing about my own executive skills strengths and weaknesses and how I've tried to support my own challenges. Until next time, everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your day. That concludes another episode of the Prepared School Psych podcast. And I hope today's discussion equipped you not just with knowledge, but also the confidence to take action. Remember, every conversation we have and every resource we share builds a bridge towards a more inclusive and empowering learning landscape for our students. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful conversations and resources to support your journey. Share this podcast with colleagues. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder, everyone, the information and advice provided in this podcast are for guidance purposes only, and all listeners are required to follow both federal and state law and their own school district guidelines and policies. Thank you.